Excellent. Good morning, everybody. I'm Senator Chip Curry, the chair of the Innovation Development, Economic Advancement, and Business Committee, along with Representative Roberts as the House Chair. Today, I wanted to, today is a work session. The purpose of this meeting is for the committee to receive, checking, I'm seeing some cross chat. 1 second. Everyone could mute. Thank you. The purpose of this meeting is for the committee to receive information from staff and others in order for members to consider the legislative proposals before them and make recommendations or reports to the legislature. Only committee members and the committee analysts and those specifically invited to attend will be participating in the work session using Zoom. For members of the public wishing to observe this meeting, it is being live streamed on the committee's YouTube channel, and will also be recorded for viewing after this meeting is concluded. We are broadcasting this audio and this meeting on the legislature's website at www.legislature.maine.gov. I think that's important to remind everybody that this is a work session, not a public hearing, which we had earlier on all of these bills. So I think we have covered all of the YouTube variations. I want to remind everybody that we are live streaming this, just as I said. And so if you do show up on the screen, you are part of that YouTube channel, and anything your camera picks up or your mic picks up is part of it. So please be careful. Also, I want to remind everybody that the chat is only for very limited use. And what I would suggest is the limited use on the chat is going to be for technical questions to either Jody Breton, who is our clerk, or to myself as chair. But please try to prevent or not to do a chat to all panelists. Certainly nothing substantive, because it does not get picked up by the live stream. But please, but when you send to all panelists, it actually disrupts and often disrupts the person talking because it shows up on the screen. And so that's more disruptive than I think people think. And so if you're using the chat for a technical issue, please you feel free to reach out directly to Jody Breton or to myself or to Representative Roberts. Let's see. With that said, let's go around and do introductions.
Valley Geiger, District 93, Rockland and Owl's Head.
I don't see Representative Andrews. Good morning, I'm Sarah Pebworth. I represent House District 133 in the Blue Hill Peninsula, which includes Brooklyn, Brooksville, Castine, Sedgwick, and Surrey.
Hi, I'm Representative Amanda Collmore. I represent House District 106, Pittsfield, Clinton, and Detroit.
Good morning, I'm Louis Lucchini. I represent most of Hancock County in the Senate.
Good morning, I'm Jack Ducharme. I represent District 111, which is Madison, Norris, Rock, and Solon.
I'm going to jump in. Hi, I'm Representative Sue Austin. I represent portions of Gray, Raymond, Casco, and all of Fry Island.
Representative Tavis Hassenfuss, District 81, which is Winthrop, Reedfield, and North Monmouth.
Representative Kyle Bailey, House District 27, part of Gorham and a small part of North Scarborough.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sue Bernard. I represent District 149, which is Caribou, Westmoreland, and New Sweden.
Good morning. I'm Representative Tiffany Roberts. I'm representing House District 6, which is the majority of North Berwick and South Berwick.
And once again, I am Senator Chip Curry, and I represent the rural, coastal, and island communities of Waldo County. And with that, let's get started. So I will now open the work session on LD number 7, missing the gavel, but we'll open the session. So with that, I'd like to introduce Oh, I'm sorry, I missed the introductions of our clerk and our analyst. I will back up a second. We have Rachel Olson is our OPLA analyst, along with Sam Seneff. And then our clerk is Jody Bratton. And thank you for your excellent work. And so, Rachel, Ms. Olson, are you leading? Nope, it's going to be Mr. Seneff. The floor is yours.
Thank you. So I will be covering all the bills except for 235, and Rachel will be doing 235 today. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let's see here. All right. You should be seeing the bill analysis for LD7. LD7 is an act to expand the membership of the board of directors of the Maine International Trade Center. As written, the bill is very simple. It increases the number of elected members on the board from 7 to 10. The committee heard testimony on the bill. Just very briefly, the folks testifying in favor of the bill expressed a desire to expand the board to increase the diversity, both demographically and in terms of geographic representation for members on the board. A potential amendment was also discussed, and I will show that on the screen in just a second. That amendment is from Senator Curry. There is a preliminary fiscal note, which indicates no fiscal impact. Just as a note, if this bill is amended, we will rerun the fiscal to see if that changes the fiscal analysis. I didn't identify any issues. The bill is written. And there's a couple links on the bottom. There's a link to the bill itself. There's a link to the preliminary fiscal note. There's a link to the current statute. And I will always try to do that to include current statute so folks can reference it. And there is a link to the Board of Directors webpage. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch my screen so that we are looking at the proposed amendment. I might just stop the share.
Sam, can I interrupt you for a second?
Absolutely.
So for those following or watching from afar, all of those links can be found by going to the committee website in committee materials and looking under LD7. And this is titled the bill analysis, correct?
Yes. And I think actually if I can.
You want to just show that pathway?
Yeah, toggle back here. All right. So if you're on the ID meeting materials webpage, you will see a link to all of the LDs here. You can then click on whichever LD you are looking for information on, and you will see a link to the bill status. And that's just the bill webpage, and I'll go to it so you can see. You can find the bill itself. You can find any public hearing testimony posted here. If you want the text of the bill, you can click on text and disposition, and you can find the bill itself as well as any fiscal note if one has been done. And so toggling back, you also find the bill analysis. Sometimes you may also find additional materials here. We've been posting them generally on the links on the bill analysis itself, embedding them in the bill analysis. If something is, for whatever reason, we might post something separately if it comes in late on the materials page itself. But our goal is to try to have everything in one place so you're not having to go to 18 different places to find information that you need in order to review a bill. All right, I'm gonna stop this for a second and switch over to the amendments, Senator, and then I'll pause for the senator to present the bill amendment. Go here.
So, Mr. Seneff, I was approached by the Maine MITC. Actually, before I do that, I'd like to ask Representative or Senator Searway to introduce himself. I see that he has joined us.
And good morning. Sorry for a little bit late. My name's Senator Scott Searway, and I represent District 16, which includes Waterville, Winslow, Fairfield, Benton, Albion, Clinton, and Unity Township.
Thank you very much. So this amendment was proposed to me from Mr. Wade Merritt and in consultation with the governor's office. And so they requested this amendment to go along with this bill. As you'll recall, this is a sponsored bill that I did on behalf of the Maine International Trade Center. So I don't have a whole lot to say about it. I would be happy to have to introduce Mr. Merritt if people have questions. Do you want to first, Sam, go through it and talk about it?
Absolutely. So this amendment makes a few additional changes to the membership of the board. So we still have the change from 7 to 10 directors. Also, there is language here under the governor selected directors. It replaces the language that states that one of the 5 directors must be the International Trade Center director within DECD, and instead replaces that with general language that says all 5 directors must have international business or professional experience. So that addresses that issue that Mr. Merritt had discussed at the public hearing of the potential conflict created by that language being an ex officio position. So that would remove that potential conflict. Also, under the language that describes the president, there is additional language that says the president shall serve as an ex officio voting member of the board of directors of the Maine International Trade Center. So that is again addressing some of those issues that were brought up by Mr. Merritt in the public hearing.
So thank you.
That's it.
At this point, let's see. If you could drop the screen share, it's hard to see when people have questions.
Yes.
During that, it's harder. Representative Austin, would you like to? Did you want to ask Mr. Merritt a question, or did you want to ask Sam?
Excuse me, I could ask either. I just wanted reclarification. I think I asked Mr. Merritt, but did he share with us that where it was an even number, he would be the tiebreaker if that became necessary?
Why don't we, at this point, Ms. Breton, if you could bring in, promote Mr. Merritt to panelist. I think there he is. Mr. Merritt, are you with us?
I am. Good morning.
Good morning. Did you hear the question?
I did. Thank you, Representative Austin. Nice to see everybody again. It does create an even number on the board. That is true. I think what I said, how I answered that question during public hearing was that though it creates an even number, we're very much a consensus-based board. I'm not overly concerned. I think I can count on on one hand, the number of tie votes we've had since the creation of the organization. We're trying to keep this to a modest expansion of the board. I don't want to get to a situation where we've got a massive number. This was originally supposed to be 15. We've kind of made it 16 to ensure that we have 5 appointed positions from the governor's office, but that my role still remains part of the governance structure.
Thank you. There was another question from, and I'm going to ask if we could keep Mr. Merritt here at the table. If Mr. Searway, or Senator Searway, if you had a question.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just wanted to ask why we couldn't do 11 just to fix that tiebreaker situation. And to me, and keep the 5 for the directors. I think that would at least give it would prevent the tiebreaker situation. And I just think that that's what I would think would be my thought on that. What do you think, Mr. Merritt?
Yes, Senator, I have no objection to that. I think, my interest, as I said during testimony, is making sure that we've got representation from across the state, and that we maintain as much as possible the balance between the elected membership and the appointed membership. So going from 16 to 17, I have no objections to that. I think trying to make sure that, as I said, making sure that we maintain the balance. I think that would be the 11th elected member, which would have effectively six appointed members, 5 that are named in statute, and then my position, which is also appointed and Senate confirmed, I would count in there too. So I have no objections to that.
Representative Ducharme. I think you're muted.
There. Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. My question is for Mr. Merritt. In the analysis, we're told the desire is for the board to have be more representative of the state as a whole, and there's a note in here that 2 of the 11 Maine-based voting members have their business outside of Cumberland County. As someone who represents a district that does a fair amount of international business across the border to our north, I'm just wondering, how are you going to have rules in your process that is going to kind of quantify, okay, we're going to have 1 from Somerset, 1 from Piscataquis? How are you going to ensure that what you're envisioning right now endures? Because when you walk out the door, somebody else is going to have to do this. So there has to be a mechanism in place. And can you talk about that, please?
Thanks for the question. Yeah, fair point. We have been discussing this as a member, as a board, in our nominating process and procedures to be able to put those types of preferences into the board's process for choosing candidates and for choosing the slate. I don't know that I would get so prescriptive as to say it's got to be somebody from this county or somebody from that county, but I do think that making sure that we're broadly represented is put into the electoral process and put into the nomination and governance process of the board of directors. I did not want to put that in statute because I don't want to set it in stone. But you're right that there does need to be a process. The board chair and I have talked about this extensively, of making sure that we're able to do that. By the way, Western Maine is on the list for sure. We've looked around, and I think we've had 1 or 2 that have been from Lewiston over the course of which is not where you're from, but it is at least broadly. So it's definitely a priority, and it's definitely something that we'll be putting into our own process.
There isn't more Maine above Augusta. Just so you
There's
know.
a lot more Maine above Augusta. As I mentioned before, Bangor kid. My mom's from Caribou. I get it. And that's kind of part of the purpose. Yes, Representative Bernard, I thought you'd appreciate that. It is. There definitely is, and that's what the purpose of this bill really gets at.
Any other questions for Mr. Merritt? Seeing none. Thank you, Mr. Merritt. Appreciate it. Jody, if you can, I don't know, we need a better word than demote, but demote Mr. Merritt to the attendee, move to the attendee list. So, and Mr. Seneff, any, so we have the original bill and we have this amendment. Next steps would be to discussion and vote on the amendment, correct?
Correct.
Or would that just be as a vote, discussion and vote ought to pass as amended?
So if a member wanted to make a motion to pass the bill as amended, you could then discuss after the motion is made.
Okay, very good, very good. So Senator Lucchini.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If you'd like, I can make a motion. So I'd make a motion about to pass as amended, with the amendment being the one provided by the chair with the adjustment from Senator Searway, moving it up to 11 to keep that odd number.
I'd second it.
Seconded by Senator Searway. Excellent. And Representative Geiger, you were going to second. Is that where you were going? Okay, great.
Yeah, I was
And-
going to remind us that Senator Searway wanted to go from 10 to 11. That's all.
Great, great, thank you. And Senator Searway, did you want to say anything else?
That's basically it. I think if we could put some language in there about a not necessarily county, but to make a broad thing like Representative Deschamps had mentioned, just to try to make it cover the directives cover a good part of Maine, so I, equally, somewhat. I don't know
Representative
if we can
Bernard,
do that.
any further discussion on the motion? Representative Bernard.
Yes, Senator Curry, thank you. I'm not sure that we ought to get too prescriptive for this particular board, but in other words, to say each region equally, but to make sure that they're all represented. So perhaps northern, central, south, as long as there's representation there, I would be certainly satisfied.
Representative Austin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I think you remuted yourself.
Oh dear.
There you go.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would agree with Representative Bernard. And I'm wondering, we sort of put Wade in the waiting room, but maybe just a token question has it been a difficult process to find someone that has, broadened the representation across the state for them in the past?
Ms. Bratton, if you could bring Mr. Merritt back in. And the good news is they're attendees, so they're able to watch. They're not in the waiting room, kind of not seeing anything. So they're back in the audience. Mr. Merritt.
Hi again, everybody.
Welcome back to the podium.
Thank you. If I could, Mr. Chair, just address the question that had popped up about regional representation, and then I'll answer Representative Austin's question. The big issue for, and another reason why we don't want to get prescriptive, is that the bill actually calls for the elected members to be drawn from the dues-paying membership of the Trade Center. And there is a like it or not, we are very heavily focused in Southern Maine. I think we've got maybe 4 members in Aroostook County to choose from in that regard. So we've got some work to do, obviously, on the membership development side, but limiting to region by region, it would limit the number of people that we would have access to for the board seats. That's the reason why I don't want to get overly prescriptive about it, although I hear you. I hear what the committee is saying. Representative Austin, your question, we have had some great people that have been interested in serving. The issue has been that board meetings have typically been in person in Portland, which is limiting for people to be able to come down here and do that. One reason why we thought that the time was right for us to go for an expansion, and one especially that was looking after geography, is that our board meetings are now looking a lot more like this, and that we are the idea of having someone come down from Machias to participate in a board meeting virtually now is something that's probably more realistic, and we're not asking people to commit 3 days to come down for a board meeting. So that's absolutely part of the goal.
Thank you. That makes a lot of sense.
You're welcome.
We have a motion on the floor. A second. Any other
Yep.
discussion? No other discussion. I'll call for a vote then. And Ms. Breton, if you can escort, I'll try that, escort Mr. Merritt into the attendee room. And I don't think I'll say that again. And then let's call for the vote.
So I have ought to pass as amended, Senator Lucchini, seconded by Senator Seaway. Representative Geiger.
Yes.
Representative Geiger, yes. Representative Andrews, still absent. Representative Pebworth.
Yes.
Representative Pebworth, yes. Representative Collmore.
Yes.
Representative Collmore, yes. Senator Lucchini.
Yes.
Senator Lucchini, yes. Senator Seaway.
Yes.
Senator Seaway, yes. Representative Deschamps.
Yes.
Representative Deschamps, yes. Representative Austin.
Yes.
Representative Austin, yes. Representative Hassenfuss.
Yes.
Representative Hassenfuss, yes. Representative Bailey.
Yes.
Representative Bailey, yes. Representative Bernard.
Yes.
Representative Bernard, yes. Representative Roberts.
Yes.
Representative Roberts, yes. Senator Curry.
Yes.
Senator Curry, yes. So we have 12-0 with 1 absent.
I think that tells us this working session is done. Correct? We're close this work. Mr. Seneff, you look like you're trying to say something.
I just wanted to request leave from the committee to run the draft amendments when I've got it all formatted by the department to make sure that I have it as intended.
What do you need from us? Yes.
You just an okay. Yep, just a
Okay.
yes. The verbal yes
Great.
works. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent. So that closes the work session on LD 7. We'll now open the work session on LD 20, an act to provide for the 2021-2022 allocation of the state ceiling on private activity bonds. Mr. Seneff. Mr. Seneff? Oh, there you go.
Sorry about that. I was muted. All right. So this is the work session for LD 20. This is an act to provide for the 2021 and 2022 allocations of the state ceiling on private activity bonds. So this bill establishes the allocations of the state ceiling on issuance of tax-exempt private activity bonds for calendar year 2021 and 22 among the state level issuers of tax-exempt bonds. The committee heard from several folks who are involved in issuance of tax-exempt bonds, so FAME and Maine Housing. There were no opponents and neither for nor against for the bill, no information request, and no potential issues. This is a, I think commonly referred to as a housekeeping bill. It is something that is done routinely to align the state with the federal guidance. I did provide some links here if anyone is interested in learning more. A link to the LD, the preliminary fiscal note, which does indicate no net effect on general or moral obligation debt. There is this statute that covers the allocation of the state ceiling. There's also the very technical IRS publication that covers this. And then if anybody is interested, there's the ever popular private activity bonds and introduction by their Congressional Research Service. If you would like to learn more about private activity bonds and how they work. Just provided that link for your interest. But that is it for this bill. I'll stop sharing.
Are there any questions for Mr. Seneff? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to for LD 20 ought to pass? Well, I'll entertain a motion on this bill.
I believe Representative Ducharme has his hand up.
Representative Ducharme.
Thank you, Chairman Curry. I'll make the motion that this, that ought to pass.
Motion is
Second.
made. Is there a second? Senator Searway
Second.
has seconded that. Any discussion? Seeing none. Ms. Breton, would you call the roll?
Yes, so I have ought to pass. Motion by Representative Ducharme, seconded by Senator Seaway. Representative Geiger.
Yes.
Representative Geiger, yes. Representative Andrews, absent. Representative Pebworth.
Yes.
Representative Pebworth, yes. Representative Collmore.
Yes.
Representative Collmore, yes. Senator Lucchini.
Yes.
Senator Lucchini, yes. Senator Seaway.
Yes.
Senator Seaway, yes. Representative Ducharme.
Yes.
Representative Ducharme, yes. Representative Austin.
Yes.
Representative Austin, yes. Representative Hassenfuss.
Yes.
Representative Hassenfuss, yes. Representative Bailey.
Yes.
Representative Bailey, yes. Representative Bernard.
Yes.
Representative Bernard, yes. Representative Roberts.
Yes.
Representative Roberts, yes. Senator Seaway. Senator Curry, I'm sorry.
Yes.
So we have 12 yes, 0 in the negative, and 1 absent.
With the roll call done, that's the end of work session. This work session on LD 20. We'll now open that's closed. We'll now open the work session on LD 22. And that is an act to authorize the early payment of anticipated funds to the Loring Increment Financing Fund. Mr. Seneff.
This is LD 22, an act to authorize early payment of anticipated funds to the Loring Job Increment Financing Fund. This bill requires the state tax assessor, at the direction of the governor and the recommendation of the commissioner of DCD, and the approval of the commissioner of administrative and financial affairs, to deposit into the contingent account and pay to the Loring Job Increment Financing Fund an amount not to exceed the anticipated payment amount to the fund or the amount paid the previous year, whichever is greater. So this provides that any difference between the amount advanced and the amount finally determined due in the event of an underpayment must be added to the final payment due by July 31st, 2021, or in the event of an overpayment, deducted from the final payment. And it repeals the temporary provision on August 1st, 2022. So this, we heard a fair amount of testimony on this bill. So to put what I just said kind of into simpler words, this is an advance on funds that have already been allocated. This was done, this same bill was heard last session to address potential short-term shortfalls. As was discussed at the public hearing, Loring is experiencing some hardship due to the pandemic, and this would deposit funds into their account a bit earlier than usual. I didn't see any issues with the bill as drafted. Just as a note, this is an emergency bill. That means instead of waiting the 90 days after adjournment, the bill is effective upon signing. And also as a note, I did provide a link to the bill last session, which was LD 1835 from the 129th, which also authorized the early release of the Job Increment Financing Fund distributions to Loring. There was an amendment to that bill. I included it. I included the final printed law. I also included a link to the relevant statute. So I will stop share here. Discussion. And that is it for that LD.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Seneff? Seeing no questions, We'll entertain the motion. Representative Geiger.
Actually, this was a question, Senator Curry. Just,
Okay.
I'm new at this. Sam, can you explain why we don't know what the fiscal impact is, even though we know how much money we're transferring?
So sometimes the OFPR does preliminary fiscal impacts. It is not done across the board. Sometimes it's just they don't have the capacity to do preliminary fiscals on all bills. So one will be done before the vote is sent out. So I would assume that would be pretty quickly. So I will bring the fiscal back here. And if the fiscal impact is such that the committee wishes to revote on the bill, that can be done.
Thank you.
Representative Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Regarding LD 22, I'd like to make a motion ought to pass.
I'd like to second that.
Second.
I'll second it.
Okay, I saw Representative Bernard, so I will Representative Bernard seconding that. Any discussion? Seeing none? Oh, yes, seeing none. Sam, were you trying to add one more thing?
I wanted to ask the committee if in the event there is a fiscal impact on the bill, it would potentially need to be an OTPA. So if I would just have leave from the committee to make the vote an OTPA instead of an OTP.
Ought to pass as amended.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll go back to Representative Roberts. You're fine with that, and Representative Bernard, you're fine with that. Great. So the motion is ought to pass as amended, assuming that there is a fiscal note that will come with it. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Breton, would you call the roll?
I have ought to pass as amended. Motion made by Representative Roberts, seconded by Representative Bernard. Representative Geiger.
Yes.
Representative Geiger, yes. Representative Andrews. Absent. Representative Pebworth.
Yes.
Representative Pebworth, yes. Representative Collmore.
Yes.
Representative Collmore, yes. Senator Lucchini.
Yes.
Senator Lucchini, yes. Senator Seaway.
Yes.
Senator Seaway, yes. Representative Deschamps.
Yes.
Representative Deschamps, yes. Representative Austin.
Yes.
Representative Austin, yes. Representative Hasselfuss.
Yes.
Representative Hasselfuss, yes. Representative Bailey.
Yes.
Representative Bailey, yes. Representative Bernard.
Yes.
Representative Bernard, yes. Representative Roberts.
Yes.
Representative Roberts, yes. Senator Curry.
Yes.
Senator Curry, yes. That is 12 yes, nobody in the negative, and 1 absent.
Thank you, Ms. Breton. That closes the work session for LD 22. We'll now open the work session on LD 235, an act to require furniture sellers to accept cancellation before delivery. Is this Ms. Olson? Are you presenting on this?
I am, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so this morning we have LD 235, an act to require furniture sellers to accept cancellations before delivery. This bill would require that any business in the state of Maine that sells furniture and offers that furniture for delivery would have to allow a buyer to cancel an order according to a set policy disclosed to the buyer at the time of sale. And if the furniture seller fails to disclose that policy, it would be a violation of the Unfair Trade Practices Act. We didn't hear much testimony around this bill. The main proponents were putting forward that this is a common sense approach And the opponents are saying this doesn't really rise to the level of needing a legislative fix, and that most policies are set at the merchant level by stores, by store policy. And the idea there is to retain your customers, so good customer service. In taking a look at the bill, two things came up as potential issues or technical problems. The first one would be, and this was brought up in testimony, but who would be considered a furniture seller? So how would we define that term for the purposes of this section? And the second one, to a lesser degree, is the definition of the word reasonable, which is used throughout the statute. There are some there's some legal framework around the word reasonable, but we would want to consider addressing that. In general, there were some questions around how is this situation currently protected under consumer law in Maine and more widely across the United States. A lot of this information is available in the Attorney General's office, particularly in their consumer law guide, which I've linked. There's sort of 3 chapters related to that, which help outline many of the questions that were brought up during the public hearing. Generally speaking, a merchant does not have to accept a return, and that it's up to the merchant to set their own policy. There is no federal or state law that determines or dictates that. With the exception of an item that might have been considered defective, and that would fall under an implied warranty. There are a couple of other exceptions to certain types of sales, like door-to-door sales, for example, but not in a traditional retail format. If you have a consumer complaint, the AG's office does outline a process, a 3-step process that you could take to resolve that complaint. The first one would, of course, be to complain to the business, preferably through a formal letter. You could also use the Attorney General's Consumer Mediation Service. And your third option is to bring a small claims court case yourself against the business. I've included links to the testimony, as I said, the law guides that help consumers understand their rights and responsibilities. Also a link to the Unfair Trade Practices Act. And there is information regarding sales are also addressed in the Uniform Commercial Code, which is linked here under Title 11, Article 2, which is related to sales. Oh, and there is currently, forgot the fiscal, no fiscal, preliminary fiscal note has been issued yet. So no fiscal impact has been determined at this time.
And just so I'm clear, Ms. Olson, that means that they have not done a fiscal impact study or preliminary. It doesn't mean there is no fiscal impact.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Any questions for Ms. Olson? Representative Geiger.
Thank you. Ms. Olson, it sounds like even though there are remedies laid out, if in fact Maine does not require a return policy, then really there are no remedies. If a store, it's well within their rights to say we don't take returns for any reason except gross defects, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Are there other questions for Ms. Olson? Representative Collmore.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm concerned about a bill like this, especially as Ms. Olson brought up, the reasonable not being quite as measurable as one might like. And as we heard in the testimony, furniture sellers, specifically some of your ones that sell like up in Bangor on Broadway, their furniture is very unique because it's built. And when we're looking at what might be reasonable for one company and what might be reasonable for another company, I feel is quite different depending on the furniture and who the supplier is, because if it leaves the store, especially in the electronic world, leaves the store and starts in the inventory process of setting up somebody building the piece of furniture or the shipment from the supplier, I think it's harder to say that you have to do it for 30 days, for example, because 30 days might be too long for one company, whereas 30 days could be okay for another company. I understand the concern about it being a couple hours after, but if a business or a furniture seller, which I also think is a little too broad, because are we going to include Walmart in that? Because they sell furniture, and actually I tend to buy a lot of inexpensive furniture for my child's room from Walmart because I know it could get damaged. I think the other thing is we're looking at electronic furniture sellers too. Are we going to consider Amazon under that area as well? And so I think there's a lot of concerns with something like this being a legislative thing instead of allowing stores to have their own policies and keep or retain customers based off of their good policies. Thank you.
Ms. Olson, was there anything in there you wanted to reply to? I think that was a question to you at the start, so I want to see if there was anything you wanted to respond to. We have this phase where we slip from questions to the analysts to start going at it. So was that a question, or I'll go back to you, Representative Collimore. Question or more advocacy for your position?
It's a little bit of both. I think that Ms. Olson brings up a fair point, and it's a concern that I had when we were hearing testimony about what classifies a furniture seller and what we are determining as reasonable, and how can we fix that so it reflects the uniqueness of each individual business.
I could address one point there that she brought up concerning businesses such as Amazon or even Walmart, people who sell across state lines or through internet purchases. Even states that do set some type of policy around refunds, those policies are unclear or do not necessarily extend to businesses, or if you're buying something from out of state, for example, or online. So even states that do have refund policies or return policies in place, they do not apply it necessarily in those situations or clearly in those situations.
Thank you. Representative Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Olson, just to clarify, for along the lines of not having it be clear what reasonable is, what furniture seller is, I'm gonna take it one step further and say, do we have a statutorial or any definition of what furniture is? Is it a lamp? Is it a painting? Is it a rug? I've just kind of in the ambiguity I'm feeling here. Is there even a definition of that would be able to classify sellers?
Under this section, although we are creating a new section, but in the broader picture, we do not have that clearly defined. And so if we wanted to move forward with that, we would need to define both what furniture is and what the seller component would be. Okay. Your boxes keep moving. It's hard to talk towards the person who's speaking.
Okay, that's what I had thought. I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Senator Lucchini.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sorry, not a question, but if I share the concerns of both Representative Collimore and Representative Roberts, and if appropriate, I'd make a motion of ought not to pass.
Second.
Second.
There's a second by Senator Representative Roberts. Sorry. Let's see. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none. Ms. Breton, would you call the roll?
Yes, so I have an ought not to pass motion by Senator Lucchini, seconded by Representative Roberts. Representative Geiger.
Voting yes, ought not to pass.
Voting yes. Representative Geiger, yes. Representative Andrews, still absent. Representative Pebworth.
Yes.
Representative Pebworth, yes. Representative Collimore.
Yes.
Representative Collmore, yes. Senator Lucchini?
Yes.
Senator Lucchini, yes. Senator Seaway?
Yes.
Senator Seaway, yes. Representative Ducharme?
Yes.
Representative Ducharme, yes. Representative Austin?
Yes.
Representative Austin, yes. Representative Hassenfuss?
Yes.
Representative Hassenfuss, yes. Representative Bailey?
Yes.
Representative Bailey, yes. Representative Bernard?
Yes.
Representative Bernard, yes. Representative Roberts?
Yes.
Representative Roberts, yes. Senator Curry?
Yes.
Senator Curry, yes. That's 12 in favor, none in the negative, and 1 absent.
It's a vote. We will close this work session on LD 235. We'll now open our last scheduled work session on LD 239. And Mr. Seneff, are you walking us through this?
Indeed. This is the work session for LD 239, an act to improve the transparency of real estate appraisals. So this bill creates within the Department of the Attorney General the Office of the Advocate for Real Estate Appraisal, the purpose of which would be to assist members of the public in understanding their rights regarding real estate appraisals. The office would be administered by the Advocate for Real Estate Appraisal appointed by the AG. That individual must be a licensed Maine real estate appraiser. The duties of this advocate would include preparing and making available on a publicly accessible website educational and interpretive materials and programs concerning the real estate appraisal process and options available to consumers to dispute real estate appraisals and to submit complaints regarding licensed appraisers, providing individual guidance to members to help them understand their rights, and submitting complaints regarding licensed appraisers, receiving and reviewing inquiries regarding real estate appraisals and determining whether the appraisals were completed in accordance with the uniform standards of professional appraisal practice, and also with responding with non-binding written findings and recommendations and information regarding the consumer's options. The bill requires the advocate to submit a report not later than January 15th of each year to the Joint Standing Committee having jurisdiction over consumer affairs, which would be this committee. The report must include the total number of inquiries received in the previous calendar year, a summary of outcomes, and recommendations for future legislation, if any. The bill also amends the licensing laws for real estate appraisers to require the Board of Real Estate Appraisers to establish by rule a process for receiving complaints regarding licensees. It requires the board to include on its website a description of consumer rights in the appraisal process and a step-by-step process for the filing of complaints. It also requires the board to include on its website searchable information regarding disciplinary actions to include letters of guidance taken against licensed appraisers. It requires the board to also submit a report not later than January 15th to the Joint Standing Committee having jurisdiction. That report to include the total number of complaints received, a summary of outcomes, and recommendations for future legislation. So really there's two kind of distinct sections to this bill, one creating a brand new office within the Office of the Attorney General, and one amending the existing language relevant to the Board of Real Estate Appraisers that is a part of DPFR. So the committee heard a pretty significant testimony. Testimony was received in favor of the bill. Testimony was received opposed to the bill, and testimony was also received neither for nor against the bill, and that includes testimony by licensing. A couple things I wanted to point out. There was a comment made during the public hearing about potential issues of confidentiality, specifically that an appraiser would not be able to share information with the ombudsman because of the USPAP ethics rule. I think that would pretty easily be gotten around with a signed release of information. Presumably the consumer would be able to sign a release allowing the appraiser to release information to the ombudsman. Also, I did, and this was noted by a number of folks, as drafted, the bill does appear to be duplicative of some of the work of the Board of Real Estate Appraisers. So it does look like the proposed role of this ombudsman located within the Office of the Attorney General, there would be some potential overlap, and that overlap would primarily, as I read it, be around the work that that focuses on licensees, so discipline or review of the work of licensees. So I think the bill would probably need to be tightened up a little bit in terms of if this new office were created, to make it very clear what the duties of that office within the Office of the Attorney General were, as opposed to the duties of the existing board. So those would need to be clarified, I think, a little more than they are now. And just as a note, and this was noted as well, the duties of the board right now are focused on the role or the management of licensees. It's not focused on determining whether or not an appraisal itself was sufficient. It's really looking at the work of the licensee, and is the licensee doing what he or she should be doing, and in accordance with the standards of the profession. So I just wanted to make that clear. I did include links to the current Board of Real Estate Appraisers, a link to the board complaint procedures, as well as a link to the Uniform Standards of Professional Appraisal Practice, which are the professional standards that guide the work of a professional appraiser. Representative Hepler did submit some information for a potential amendment to the bill. And I believe the representative is on the call to present that. I will stop the share for a second here.
So recognizing that Representative Hepler is there, and Mr. Seneff, you've concluded your review. I'd like to first hear from Representative Hepler in terms of what she is proposing as an amendment, and then we will come back to questions. So if we can bring Representative Hepler to the podium. Representative Hepler, welcome, and could you tell us through your amendment, and was that submitted in writing to Mr. Seneff? Do you have that also, Mr. Seneff?
I have it. I could bring it up while the representative speaks, if that would be helpful.
I think that would be helpful.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. It's so nice to hear this as a podium, because I'm actually standing at a stand-up desk, which is actually made up of a milk carton. So it's my new podium. So we listened, and Marge Kilkelly went through a lot of this, and we conferred on this, and we thought, and thank you, Mr. Seneff, for the great analysis. And so what we're proposing to do is after listening to the other testimony, is to forego the Attorney General office and instead focus this on the Board of Appraisers, right? And to focus not just on, as Mr. Seneff said, on the goal or the role of the licensees in the Board of Appraisers, but to also make a place for this, because this would be the logical place for for someone who wants to complain about an appraisal to come, and to make that more upfront, and to also have there it is on the screen to have the appraisal complaint right there and more apparent, and then to also go with include the number of complaints and disposition of complaints. This seems like a simpler and certainly less expensive, although there's no fiscal note attached to it, and it provides what we've heard in terms of the process. So I think I'll stop there. Marge Kilkelly is also on the call.
So, thank you. And And this was Mr. Seneff, was this shared to members
Yes, it was emailed out this morning to members.
from you?
Yes.
Great, thank you. So if we can stop the share. And Representative Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Hepler, to be clear, I just want to make sure that I'm understanding. The amendment that you're proposing is striking the entire original bill.
Yeah, pretty much. Although the Board of Appraisers part is also included in the bill, but that might be the simpler way to do it.
Yeah, the only reference I'm seeing to the board is on a report back as far as number of complaints, summary outcomes. So you keeping, I guess it's just a little unclear as to what this amendment is.
Yeah, you're in practical terms, I think I agree with you that this would replace the language. I'll refer to Mr. Seneff for more clarification on that.
I believe that it would probably be a full strike and replace of the bill. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Representative Geiger, do you have a question for
Yes, thank you.
Representative Hepler?
Thank you, Senator Curry. It's a question for both Mr. Seneff and Representative Hepler. So I didn't get the opportunity this morning to read that amendment. So it looks like that the current statute defines the Board of Appraisers as really being determining the professional standards of other appraisers, that you bring complaints for their on their actions. But you're suggesting that in addition to that, there be a second role, which is to have a place to bring a complaint about the actual appraisal itself. Is that right? And then I guess my question for either of you is, and what is that action if you are unhappy with the effect of the appraised? Is there are you asking the board to lay out a process if someone has questions about their appraisal, to get another appraisal, to have it looked at to see if it's reasonable? Where does that go?
That's a good question. That's a good question. I think that, hold on, because I actually got this morning also. So there is a complaint process. The problem is that it's not very transparent. And I think even the appraisers will also say that. And that was one of the things. So it would go through the, I think the unit, yeah. Hold on. There is language, and I did not get a chance to look at this morning, language from the Maine Board of Accountancy. And the other thing is, like I said, you can't get to the complaint process. I don't know if you remember the testimony last week. You go to one thing, go through it, and then find out that you have to go back to something else. And so it would just clarify what a consumer's rights are. Does that make sense?
So I want to make sure we're focusing on questions for Representative Hepler before we, while she's at the podium, and then we'll move on to debate. So any other questions for Representative Hepler?
I guess I'm still not clear if this amendment is creating a process to bring a complaint about the appraisal itself, and is it providing a solution or a proposal for that?
Okay, so what it would do, sorry, can I answer?
Please go ahead.
So what it would do is, the problem is, one of the problems is that consumers can't get to the complaint process. It wouldn't add additional, so it wouldn't ask the Board of Real Estate Appraisers to also rule on this. It would just provide an avenue for the consumers to go to raise an appeal.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Seneff, I see that you've raised your hand. Are you addressing this topic that's before
Yes,
us?
I would say, I think as written, it looks like the recommendations would, as I read it, essentially direct or provide greater clarity from the board on the complaint process. I would just offer that in addition to, you could put this in statute, the committee could also direct the board by letter, essentially write a letter to the board requesting that the board clarify their complaint process and report back to the committee next session. So that is another option that this committee has, is to not pass a bill, but to request action by the board.
And that just is from this committee to that department?
Yes.
Okay. Representative Ducharme, did you have a question?
Question, I believe, because thank you, Chairman Curry. Having spent 20 years doing this, there is an appeal process. And I would ask Representative Hepler if there is going to be subsequent legislation that is going to require lenders, specifically, if you want to get down to it, specifically the out-of-state internet lenders, to provide the kind of guidance that the local banks seem to be providing, knowing that I did that for 20 years whenever anybody had an appraisal issue. It seems to me that's the problem. So we're going to try and legislate something to deal with these people coming in from out of state that they're not going to care about Maine law anyway. So that's kind of my question. Is there going to be follow-up legislation to make the banks do more?
Oh, I would think that if I were going through a bank to refinance, I would want clarification on if I had the bank do an appraisal and not, then, and be able to have a clear path for a complaint or an appeal. But I don't have any legislation pending on any of that.
Thank you.
If I might, Chairman Curry.
Oh, please go ahead.
Just for clarity, both for Representative Hepler and the rest of the rest of the panel, typically the process is if a consumer has a question or a challenge to an appraisal, then the institution, particularly the one that I used to work for, our process was, okay, here's the way you challenge it. We're going to hire another appraiser. We're going to get that second appraisal, and then we'll get a third appraiser to look at the two and see which one most accurately represents the value of the property. Understand that appraisal values is nothing more than an educated guess. And if we try and get it quantified so that there are, that it goes in a real linear format, and if this, then that, it's never going to happen. And you're always going to have these complaints. So that would be my comment to the committee on that.
See, Representative Bernard.
Thank you, Senator Curry. As they say, and so this came up, and the question about appraisal, it seems like Representative Ducharme just said that could be argued back and forth all day, and it seems as if there is already a way to address that through your lending institution. But I'm just wondering, is it correct that you were going after this bill because of instances where people were upset regarding appraisal as opposed to particular appraisers? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Not entirely. I mean, in the case that Marge Kilkelly raised and other people I've talked to, it was a complaint about the way the information that the appraiser was providing. So I guess I'm not sure of the distinction. I don't think it's raising a question about the appraisal process. I think it's just providing consumers with information about how they can challenge that.
Representative Bernard, did you have any further questions? I'm gonna ask that we, I've had a request to go into caucus, and so if we can go into caucus, and then I will reach out to you, Representative Bernard or Senator Searway, to see when you're ready, and we'll come back. So we'll take a break. I'd recommend everyone turn off their cameras and mute their mics, and thank you very much.
I have a question, quick.
Can we go into caucus first, and then we'll come back?
Yeah, well, that was my question. I've not gone into, had the experience of that. So I just wanted to know if there's a contact Zoom or
Yes.
anything.
Actually, I had asked earlier today, let me just see if I was given one. I had asked for a special Zoom link, and I was not given it. So I'm just going to make a call to each of you. I've got your phone numbers. Let me make sure. Yeah, I do have your phone numbers, and I'm going to be calling you and have just a conference call.
Great.
So stand
Okay.
by. I'll be making a conference call to you.
All right. Thank you.
What? Yeah, quickly, my screen's off.
Welcome back. See everyone getting back in. Looks like we have most of us. Senator Searway, are you with us? Representative Cullimore, we'll begin. Did you have any, we still have Representative Hepler with us. I wanted to see if there are any more questions for her before we move on to debate. Did you have a question for, did anyone have a question? At this point, does anyone have a question for Representative Hepler? No. Thank you very much, Representative Hepler. I'm gonna, Ms. Breton, I'm gonna ask you to shift Representative Hepler into the attendee list. And Representative Collmore.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a motion that the bill ought not to pass and that the committee issue a written request to the board to make the appeal process more clear on their website and in their outreach materials.
I hear a motion and a second from Senator Searway.
Yeah.
Second from Senator Searway. Discussion on the motion. Any discussion on the motion? See Representative Bernard.
Thank you very much, Senator Curry. I would like to agree with that motion that's on the floor. Excuse me. One of the reasons, first of all, is because fiscally, this could be an expensive, well, the way that it was written, and I don't know that we can even go forward with the amended version, or I would say that we shouldn't go forward with the amended version without talking to the board and getting their take on what kind of an impact this would have. So I would like to agree with that motion and say, let's not go forward with definitely not with the bill as presented, that should be ought not to pass, and that we not go forward with anything that substantially changes the way we have this set up today.
Thank you, Representative Bernard. Representative Hassenfuss.
Yes, I just had a question sort of for all the members of the committee, and how hard do we think it is to actually file a complaint? Because I just typed in on my Bing search, Maine Real Estate Appraisal Board complaint, and the first link I get was file a complaint, Office of Professional and Occupational ... I click on it and it has file a complaint, and we go down and select the real estate licensing board, enter the information, submit the complaint. And the second link that is there is the Board of Real Estate Appraisers.gov home, which on that page, there is no place to specifically file a complaint. So, okay, I don't see it on here. I have a contact us link, so I suppose I could email them, say I'd like to file a complaint, see what I get for a response, which I don't know what their response would be, but, and then, so I'm gonna search up top in the search tab, I'm gonna type in complaint and search for that, see where that brings me. And that then brings me back to the home page where, or it says search results, file a complaint is the first one there. Okay, and I want to file a complaint, and I'm back to the complaint page where I have a description. I select the agency and go forward there. And I think this process is the same for every single entity that is licensed by professional financial regulation. To me, I think that's sufficient where it can direct somebody by email, phone, or online form to file a complaint. And I don't think that we would need to ask them to see if their procedures are clear enough. I think, to me, they're clear enough for the average person who wishes to file a complaint. But
So you're taking issue with the letter portion of the motion, the not the ought not to pass, but the portion of directing a letter by the committee.
Yes, I'm wondering if more guidance is necessary when it seems that it's a fairly reasonable process for filing a complaint.
Representative Pebworth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate both the motion not to pass and the suggestion of a letter. One of the reasons I ran as to be a representative is not to help solve problems, but to help prevent problems. And I think if encouraging the Board of Real Estate Appraisers to to put out more education about the process can help prevent complaints, then we come out ahead. I would be happy to help work on that letter.
Representative Austin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to thank Representative Hassenfuss. That's really great work, right on the spot. Good job. Can we be reminded back to the actual day of taking the bill up, how many, how much feedback had there been to go along with this one particular case? I'm sorry, I don't remember. I know, was that Commissioner Head was in that day, or was she with us that particular day? And does anybody know how, Sam, do you know how many experiences that are similar to this? I'm just trying to get a little fix on the numbers. Complaints, I guess. There we go. Complaints.
We didn't get a number of complaints, I believe. I'm just looking back on the testimony. I don't know how common they are. I do believe, I think in the waiting room, there is somebody from the board, Karen Bivens, I believe, but I don't think we got that information during
Let's,
testimony.
Ms. Breton, can you bring in Karen Bivens to answer that question? Well, welcome, Ms. Bivens. Did you hear the question?
Yes, thank you. I am Karen Bivens. I'm the administrator for the Board of Real Estate Appraisers. I don't believe you received that information at the hearing or in the information that we provided as far as the number of complaints. In general, this board receives an average of about 30 complaints a year. And that's not a lot of complaints. This is a fairly large licensing pool, so there are a lot of appraisers that are licensed, but that's the average number that we're seeing is around 30 per year. I'm not sure if there's more information you'd like about that.
Actually, I have a question, and I know we have some other people that have questions. So my question is, do people contact you thinking that they are disputing the appraisal, and when in fact your role is not to dispute the appraisal, but to question whether there is a bad actor, whether there is an appraiser who shouldn't be licensed, or whether there's a disciplinary action in place? Is that correct?
That's correct.
Are people confused about that when they reach out to you sometimes?
I think they may be confused about that in general. There may be some confusion that they are the client when, if they're going through a lender, the lender's the client. But the board reviews appraisals as part of all of their complaint investigations, if you will. When they're looking at a complaint, they are looking at the appraisal report itself. They are looking at the steps the appraiser took to reach the conclusion, and it's a lot of information. It's not a simple thing that comes together quickly. So they are reviewing what steps did that appraiser take? Are they in compliance with USPAP and the board rules and requirements? But they're not going to say that that bottom line number for the appraisal is correct or incorrect. They may say that we don't think they used the right steps to get to this number, but the only way to really dispute that or to do something else is to have another appraisal done. And that's not the role of the licensing board. As Representative Ducharme explained, the lender can certainly do that. They can ask for another appraisal. Or if you're the client yourself, you're having an appraisal done as an individual, you can do that as well, but that's not the role of the board. They do review the process, however.
Thank you very much. Does anyone else have a question for Ms. Bivens? Senator Searway.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just had a question. Now, if a company, we'll just say, a big company where they're buying your property and they hire the appraiser and you don't agree with the appraiser, because you felt that it was really shoddy work. What recourse do they have if they don't agree to get another appraiser? And it's kind of like you in a situation where you've got to sell to them. I mean, there are a lot of places where, you know, it's big companies like maybe a water company or a power company or somebody that is a big concern that's because of risk that they're at, they've got to sell, but and this company's putting the appraisal on what they want to buy it for. And so that's a concern. How do we, if they have a complaint, how do they make it to go through very easily? Because that's what we're trying to do, is get maybe a letter that we can from our board to just say, how can we make it easier for somebody to file a complaint and get this resolved?
Well, we can clarify how to file a complaint with the board. We can add more information if that's necessary, but what you're talking about, I don't think is something that the board can deal with. That's
Okay.
that's not what their purview is.
Right.
The person may need to hire their own appraiser.
Or
have a
or
separate
possibly Attorney General's office or
It
not?
may go through the Attorney General's office consumer affairs part. I don't know if they can assist in that area. I'm not part of that unit, but that's certainly something they may get advice from them a little, maybe help them figure out how to go forward. But that's not something that the board would be involved with.
All right. Thank you.
Representative Collmore, you had a question for Ms. Bivens.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks, Ms. Bivens, for being here today. I was curious if it would be reasonable to ask of the board to put on their website, especially on the front page, because when you go on the front page, there's nothing about that process. And Representative Hassenfuss did a good job of searching it, but not all of my constituents are easily able to use those search options. And so to have it on the front page, maybe even a link, complaint process or something like that, and then you could explain what your role is clearly in that complaint process, and if they have complaints about the appraisal itself, where they could go from there. Would that be
I don't think
adequate?
that would be difficult to do. Certainly adding a link on the board's page to the complaint section, which is another part of our office, is doable quite easily. Adding more information about the process of the complaint is something that we could do as well. I don't think that would be a major undertaking to provide a little more information about that. If what's there is not sufficient, right?
Yeah, and just, Mr. Chair, if I could, if that's the only sticking point to my motion, I would gladly amend that to be just an ought not to pass, should it come to that.
Thank you. Thank you. Representative Ducharme.
I think thank you, Chairman Curry. Just to address Senator Searway's question, I think in that particular case, you're talking about a commercial appraisal, which is a completely different animal than what we're referring to in this bill. Commercial appraisals are a whole different piece of work than what a residential appraisal is. A residential appraisal is governed by USPAP, which the federal government has put in place to make sure there is some uniformity to how these things are done. Commercial appraisals, like you were referring to, it all depends on the quality of the appraiser in that particular case. And I don't know that the Board of Appraisers has a mechanism for that, because it is so far-reaching in that. Just for the clarification.
And Representative Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just like to inquire to Representative Collmore, clarify if she is amending her motion or not, and what exactly is the pending motion on before us right now?
I do not want to amend the motion if it will pass as it stands with the current motion being, hold on, I have my notes here. I want to say it correctly again. The motion would be to vote ought not to pass for the bill, and that the committee issue a written request to the board to make the appeal process more clear on the website and in their outreach materials.
Representative Hassenfuss. Oh, I'm sorry, Representative Roberts, did you have a follow-up on that?
No, Mr. Chair, I'm just trying to be clear what path we're on here.
Great, thank you. Representative Hassenfuss?
Yeah, thank you. I have a question for Ms. Bivens and a comment as well. Ms. Bivens, it seems to me, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but the website, your website, is one of sort of an omnibus one where there's a number of state regulated agencies that are on there. And the format of your website seems to simply follow that of a number of others, such as barbering and cosmetology and professional accounting. Is that something that the IT has actually set up for all of those and just kind of inputs the data from, you know, each agency in, or does the agency itself say, here's the things we want on our site, and then it gets uploaded to that that omnibus website?
That's a couple questions, but I can answer them, I hope.
Yeah.
The page that you found with the complaint process in the form, and you fill it all out, that is a part of the Office of Professional Occupational Regulation. All of those licensing boards are under that umbrella. And so there's a complaint office for that unit. And as you said, all of those boards that you list that you can click on which one you're complaining about are all part of that office. So when you want to file a complaint about one of the licensed boards people, you would pick the board that you're looking at, and it's from that same web page. Adding additional information about a particular board's information could be put on their own individual web page, but it's not part of that blanket form that is, you can use that for any occupation that's licensed within there.
Yeah, okay, and it has a contact me email, and it also lists the phone number. If somebody were to send an email or to call that number and say, I've got an appraisal from so-and-so and I'd like to file a complaint, how would that person then?
They would get information from, if they emailed, we would respond with the information, or a phone call, same information. We would tell them how they can file a complaint. We would direct them to that page that you found and tell them how to submit a complaint online. We'd also tell them they can send a letter, they can send it by email. That's the various ways that they could do that, but they would get that information as a response to either a phone call or an email inquiring.
Okay. Thank you very much for answering those questions. Now, my comment is one general in that appraisals certainly appear to be Wild West. They somewhat are, and in my experience, it usually seems that the Wild West is on the what's the number you need, because they usually come in there. And so I think this is an important conversation to have is around what regulation, if any, or consumer information should we think is prudent to legislate about. And so I think it's an important conversation to start and to have in this committee. I'm not sure this bill really addresses the important aspect of what we need to talk about and do, but I think it's something that we all should consider. And maybe with any future bills coming up, is it something that needs to be addressed? And also make sure that it's consistent with the federal rules and regulations there. That's just kind of my thought, saying that this is an important topic. I'm just not sure that the wording of this bill is really the path to head down at this time.
Sounds like we're getting close to a vote. Representative Bernard.
Yes, thank you very much, Senator Curry. I'd like to move the motion by Representative Collmore that we vote an ought not to pass report on this LD, and that we consider, I think the word might have been consider, Amanda, clarify if I'm not right, that we consider a letter to be sent to the board to talk about outreach information for the public.
So to call the question, and it sounds like we're at that point of a roll call. No other comments, no other questions. Ms. Breton, if you want to shift Ms. Bivens, and Ms. Bivens, thank you very much. Appreciate it. And then once done, let's call the roll. So a yes vote would be for ought not to pass.
We need a second.
I don't think we need a second because we had a motion on the table. We already had a motion and a second for Representative Collmore. We were in discussion, and I know Representative Bernard put it in the phrase of a motion. I thought of it as a calling the question and asking, are we ready to vote? So that's how I proceeded. Did I miss something there? I'll check with other representatives. So I think
That's
we're
exactly
okay.
what I meant, by the way, Senator.
Okay,
Curry.
great. Ms. Breton, are you ready?
Yeah. So I have an ought not to pass motion by Representative Collmore, seconded by Senator Seaway. So no.
Amendment.
With ought not to pass with a letter, and charging a letter. And Sam, do you have enough information on that? Are you with us, Sam, or is that Rachel or Ms. Olson?
Yes, I have enough information. I can certainly draft a letter and bring it back to the committee to review prior to sending it to the board.
Yeah. Okay. So an ought not to pass and charging Sam to draft a letter for us to send to.
So I did have the motion by Representative Collmore, seconded by Senator Seaway.
Yes.
Yes. So you'll be, if you want ought not to pass, you'll be voting yes. If you want something other, you'd be voting no. Representative Geiger?
Yes.
Representative Geiger, yes. Representative Andrews? Absent. Representative Pepworth?
Yes.
Representative Pepworth, yes. Representative Collmore?
Yes.
Representative Collmore, yes. Senator Lucchini is not here now. Senator Seaway?
Yes.
Senator Seaway, yes. Representative Deschamps?
Yes.
Representative Deschamps, yes. Representative Austin? I think you're on mute, Representative Austin.
Yes, yeah.
Thank you. Representative Austin, yes. Representative Hassenfuss?
Yes.
Representative Hassenfuss, yes. Representative Bailey?
Yes.
Representative Bailey, yes. Representative Bernard?
Yes.
Representative Bernard, yes. Representative Roberts?
Yes.
Representative Roberts, yes. Senator Curry?
Yes.
Senator Curry, yes. That would be 11 yes, nobody in the negative, and 2 absent.
Excellent. That would be a vote. So that closes our work session for LD 239. We have nothing else scheduled for today. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Representative
Second.
Roberts.
Second.
And Senator Seaway. Seeing no objections. Seeing no objections, this meeting is adjourned. Have a great afternoon. Ms. Breton, go ahead and close the live feed.